It's really good to be with you. So my story starts as all good stories do with I met a girl. Her name's Rihanna. I'm now married to her. And so I had just moved from Washington, D.C., where I was at a law firm, and I had moved from there to Hollywood, California. I had moved kind of on a whim. I just wanted to be out west is what I thought. And it was my very first night in the L.A. area, and I was at a party. I have a Boston accent, so you guys are gonna have to get over that. But I was at a party, and I was sitting on the balcony, right, overlooking downtown Los Angeles, and it's an absolutely gorgeous skyline. New to the city, and I'm sitting outside, and a girl walked in the front door of this apartment, and she was just incredible. I mean, absolutely incredible. She was like loud and like commanded the room, you know. She was obviously popular with the other people there. I didn't know who she was because I was new to the city. Well, I had a reputation because my sister had lived in the city, and she was actually working with Rihanna, my now wife. This is the girl, Rihanna. And she wanted to meet me, and I was on the balcony, and she walked like a beeline as quick as she could, and she walked, boom, right into a screen door. And she fell on her bottom, and like she flung her hair back. I can totally remember it like it was yesterday. She was in a red sweater, dark jeans, like calf-high boots, and she let out the most ridiculous, amazing laugh I've ever heard. And she still has that laugh. You'll hear it hopefully this week. And I was like in love with her from day one. Okay, actually that night I told her I loved her in front of her boyfriend. Yeah, because that's the kind of guy I was, and I remember thinking in my mind, like, this guy's such a loser, you gotta ditch him, you gotta get with me, because I'm all that, right? Well, she didn't ditch him right away, but it took her a couple of months. She came to her senses, and eventually we got to know each other, and we started dating. Awesome. And then, well, it was a lot more than just confidence. I was not well in my head. We're gonna get there. So we started the date and stuff, and then right around Easter time, we had been dating maybe for a couple months. My wife came out as a Christian. And to me, that was unacceptable. So you see, I was an atheist. I was a hardcore atheist. I was a vociferous atheist. I was the type of guy that if I met you on the street and I found out you were a Christian, I'd want to buy you a cup of coffee or a meal or something because I'd want to get to know you so I could tear your worldview apart. That's what I wanted to do. It was fun for me. So when my wife, Rihanna, when I met her, when she said, "Hey, I'm a Christian," I thought Christians were stupid. I thought that they weren't intellectual. I thought that they maybe believed what they believed because it made them feel good inside, but certainly not because it was true. And so through a series of events, and I'm not using this as an example, men and women here, guys. This is not permission to date non-believers, by the way. Like, don't take this story. That's what my wife gets that question after every time I share this story. This isn't a success story in all of its glory. Because it took a series of events, and ultimately Rihanna, she asked me to go to church with her, and I've done crazier things for the affections of a woman. So I went to church with her. Hey, I was like, will you hang out with me on Saturday? I'll go wherever you want on Sunday. And I ended up getting to know a lot of really great people that were Christians. Some of them weren't stupid. Some of them were actually smart, you know, and they were fun. Because I thought Christians were lame. And then through another series of events, I ended up meeting with a pastor. And I went to this meeting, Pastor Dave Polis. I went to this meeting set on destroying this pastor. I had printouts of evidence against biblical authority. I had evidence of evolution. I had evidence of philosophical truths as to why the Christian worldview isn't true. And a lot of my questions, you know what, the pastor was like, you know what, I don't really know the answer to that. That's a really good question. A lot of them he gave me some answers to. The key to this is at the end of that meeting, he gave me a book. And that book was a book on Christian apologetics. I had no idea what Christian apologetics was. Do you guys know what Christian apologetics is? Some of you? Okay, so Christian apologetics is a purview of theology. It's an area of theology where we focus on giving a defense for the Christian worldview. When I say defense, we argue for why the Christian worldview, Christian theism, is true. And I read this book cover to cover, and I was confronted in that book with intellectual arguments that had never been confronted with. And then my future in-laws, they gave me a New Believer's Bible. And I read that every day. I ended up reading it over the course of 3 months, cover to cover, Genesis to Revelation. And it was in that direct encounter with the Word of God on the front end and in the back end, my worldview of atheism was being torn down through Christian apologetics. I eventually became a Christian. And then my wife and I, Rihanna and I, ended up getting engaged and getting married. And during this process, and this is really what I want to share with you guys tonight, I just want to introduce myself to you so you know my story and my background so we can get to know each other. Because I want you to know something up front, guys. I'm here for you. Like, you guys are the reason why I'm here. So, like, I'm speaking and stuff, but if I'm hanging out, guys, like, please talk to me. And whatever questions you have, ask them. Now's the time. You guys are in a very unique place in your life, a place that I would give almost anything to go back to, where you can focus exclusively on what it means to be a Christian, why you believe what it is you believe. And you can dig into it. And that's what I want to do with you guys. I want to dig into your faith. I want to dig into your convictions and help you as best as I can. Because as an atheist, when I was exploring my atheism, I had what I called bumps into reality. You see, I don't know if you guys realize this, but the world is a certain way. What I mean by that is reality doesn't bend or break according to your personal opinion, right? I mean, you can jump off a building, but guess what? Gravity's going to grab a hold of you. So reality is that thing that gets your attention when you bump into it. And when we live according to reality, the way the world really is, life seems to go pretty well. But when we go upstream against reality and we bump into it, sometimes life gets hard. And sometimes these bumps hurt. And I experienced what I call 3 bumps in the reality. And I just want to share those with you, and then we'll take maybe some questions and answers. Does that sound okay, guys? Okay, awesome. That was okay. Like 4 of you are with me. How about the rest of you guys? I know it's late, but we can do this, I promise. So the first bump is what I call the bump of stuff. And this is not complicated. As an atheist, like, I would sit out at night and I'd look up at the night sky. You guys must have a beautiful night sky here at Hume.
Yeah. If you have the shotgun range, it's a beautiful sight.
It's unbelievable, right? You can see forever, it feels like. And I remember looking up into the sky as an atheist and being like, where did it all come from? Like, these are the big holy cow questions, right? Questions of origin, questions of meaning, questions of purpose, destiny, morality. Where did it all come from? That's what I'd ask myself. Where'd this stuff come from? Stuff exists, right? I mean, the couch that you're sitting on, it exists. It's here. This music stand, it exists. I mean, nobody says stuff doesn't exist. Where did it all come from? More specifically, where'd the universe come from? Where'd it come from? And when I said that this isn't controversial, this isn't complicated, there's only 2 options, right? The universe either came from something or nothing. But what's the most reasonable answer? You see, as an atheist, I didn't want to say the something answer, because the sooner that you say something caused the universe to come into existence, that something has to take on certain qualities. It has to be outside of its creation, so it has to be immaterial, outside of space and time. Has to be immensely powerful. Has to be creative. Before you know it, that something starts to look an awful lot like a specific something. It's the G word, and I didn't want to say the G word. The G word on atheism, it's a 4-letter word, man. You don't want to say the God word. So instead what I did is I opted for the nothing option, right? Nothing option. But who in his right mind says nothing caused everything? Because what do you get out of nothing?
Nothing.
Nothing. Nothing. Nothing is Aristotle says, nothing is that which rocks dream about. You got it. The rest of you are going to catch up. What do rocks dream about?
Nothing.
Why? Because they're rocks. They don't dream. They don't dream, but that's nothing. But I wanted to say nothing, and what I would have done is I would have chased those things to the logical conclusion. I would have said, well, nothing. Stuff pops in and out of existence all the time, right? No. You see, it goes against our general intuitions about the way the world really is. Think about it. A fundamental component of doing science, for example. You can't just have things popping out of existence. Like, imagine driving down in that curvy road down from up here, and all of a sudden, like a cow just pops into existence. Oh, it's a mess. It's a mess. You're going to die. That's not the world we live in. Or imagine, like, check this out. Like, imagine this scenario, right? I'm at work and I get home and I open the garage door, and in the garage door is my dream car, Tesla X. Those things are so sweet, guys. The long-range model, you know what I'm saying? Like 0 to 60 in like 1.9 seconds. Get out of my face. I want one of those so bad. And what if so like I walk into my garage and there's a black on black Tesla X with a big red bow on it and a tag. On the tag says, John's Tesla. And I walk inside and say, hey, babe, where'd the Tesla come from? And she goes, it just popped into existence. I don't know. That happens. No, that doesn't ever happen. Because our intuition tells us that stuff doesn't just come into and out of existence on its own. Well, the same is true for the universe. So when I tried to apply my atheism to this big holy cow question, it fell short. But you know what does have an answer? Christian theism. Christian theism can explain where all the stuff came from, right? Because we have an immaterial, atemporal God, an uncreated creator, a big banger for the Big Bang. You know, I use this illustration to try to drive this principle home. I was in Disneyland maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and I've got like a ton of kids. I've got 4 kids, 4 little girls. You guys can be praying for me. People are always crying in my house. It's usually me in the fetal position over in the corner, like wondering what in the world is going on in my world because I don't know half the time. You know, but so we have one of those double stroller joints, you know, that we can fit actually like all 4 of our kids in. And we parked it at Mater's Wild Ride outside, and it's a beautiful day. And we go stand in line. And we're there, and all of a sudden, we're standing in line, having a good time, just chit-chatting, watching the people go on the ride, and all of a sudden we hear, bang, bang! We're like, what in the world? Where'd that bang come from? Do you notice something? That not one person that was within earshot of that bang was like, it's just a bang. Those things bang themselves all the time. Everybody asked, what's that from? Well, we found out what it was from. When we got off the ride, we went over to my stroller, and we had parked it in the hot sunlight, and both of the inflatable tires had exploded, causing those bangs. You see, every big bang needs a big banger, and that's what we have with God. And when we apply this, guys, to the big stuff, the principle is true. Every big bang needs a big banger. Naturalism falls short. And when I say naturalism, let's just be clear, because I think it's going to be an important point for us throughout this whole time together. Naturalism is the idea and the understanding that everything that has come into being is the product of purely physical processes. No supernatural process. That worldview, naturalism, can't explain where all the stuff came from. It falls short. You know, and so that's my first bump. The bump of stuff. Where'd all the stuff come from? The next bump's it was the hardest for me. It still is, to be honest with you. I mean, as an atheist, I knew certain things were wrong. I knew certain things were wrong, and this is going to be the bump of bad. I knew, for example, rape, murder. I knew those things were wrong. I knew that what happened in Nazi Germany during World War II in the German concentration camps were wrong. But you see, what was I saying as an atheist? What was I saying that it was wrong? Was I saying it was just a matter of my personal opinion? Like I don't like Brussels sprouts? I mean, who here likes Brussels sprouts, right? Oh, you're sick. We'll get you the help that you need. No, but is it when I say what happened to the Jews in the furnaces of Auschwitz was wrong? Is that the same thing as me saying I like chocolate chip ice cream? No, I'm saying it's not the way that it should be. I'm saying that's wicked. It's evil. We shouldn't do it. Stop. These are the things I was saying as an atheist. But I couldn't avail myself to what's called an objective evil. on naturalism. Naturalism doesn't give me an objective evil, meaning something that's actually true of the object itself, the action itself, not my personal preference. I had to borrow from the Christian worldview. The problem of evil, what I'm talking about here, the problem of evil requires an objective morality. And this means in order for someone to even bring this issue up, and in order for me to bring this issue up, which was my favorite argument against the existence of God, I had to assume that things were actually wrong. Things were actually bad in and of themselves. The existence of evil needs to be a detail of the external world out there somehow, out there, in order for it to be a problem for us to explore. Simply put, guys, on naturalism, all I had was the particles, and you can't sin against the particles. You see, naturalism reduces human beings down to we're just moist robots. Meat suits in motion. Random quantification of molecules just like bouncing into each other, dancing to our DNA. So where am I getting any idea or any semblance, any thought of what ought to be or what's right or what's wrong? And just like with the bump of stuff, a worldview, it needs to give an adequate explanation to a moral depth of reality. This is a fundamental component of the world that we live in. Everybody knows right from wrong. Let me give you an example. So I'm the only Christian in my family. My older brother, he's an atheist, but even worse, he's a vegan. It's like barely human. No, I'm just kidding. If you guys are vegan, again, we'll get you the help you need. No, vegans, you're great. But my brother is a vegan atheist. He's true blue vegan, though. I mean, this guy, he will not wear a leather belt, no leather on his shoes, no leather in his cars. He's like an animal rights guy. So we're debating actually this very thing. We're talking about the existence of a moral depth in the world, and we're talking back and forth, and we're getting kind of passionate. We both get fired up. We talk loud to each other. People mistake it for yelling. We're not yelling. We're just passionate people. So we're talking back and forth about where it comes from. And I say, you know what, Dan, we need to calm things down. We're kind of causing a scene. People are taking notice. Let's just chill out. Let's revisit this. Hey, I want to invite you on a trip that I like to go. I think you really enjoy it. And he says, yeah, sure. What is it? So, okay, well, every year, a couple of my friends and I, we drive up to Hume Lake, and we go for this thing called Fisherman's Weekend. And you don't need to fish, don't worry, but we eat good food. We talk about important stuff, and we just have a good time. But I said the highlight of the trip is what we do is we all we chip in and we buy a 50-gallon drum of sulfuric acid. And we all take bets as to when we pour that sulfuric acid into Hume Lake, how many fish is it going to kill? And the person who gets closer to the number of fish it kills wins all the money. And by then, my brother's face, I mean, he had veins sticking out of his face that I didn't even know existed. Because he says, you can't do that. And this is, how I responded? How do you think I responded? I said, what do you mean I can't do that? I can do that. I can purchase a 50-gallon drum of sulfuric acid. I do go up to Hume Lake for Fisherman's Weekend. I can dump that acid into the lake. What you mean is I ought not. And I said to him, Dan, now you have to explain to me, where are you getting that oughtness from? And you know what he said to me? This is great. This is my goal in every conversation. He says, wow, you've given me something to think about. Just something to think about. Because this oughtness, this moral depth to reality is something that we all wrestle with. We all know it's there. Just wait till somebody wrongs you. You know it. Nobody gets their car stolen and is like, oh, it must be right for that person to steal my car. He's just violating my personal conviction. Nobody looks at the gas chambers of Auschwitz and says, hey, you do you, boo. It's good for you. Just doesn't work for my moral, right? We all know it's wrong. I couldn't explain that bump, the bump of bad, on my system. All I was left with was what's called relativism, a personal opinion, ultimately. So when I was objecting as an atheist that something was wrong, all I was doing was saying, I think that's wrong for me, but not for you. That's all I could avail myself to. And I found myself at the same time very related, bumping into the third bit of reality that I want to talk about, and this is the soul. So I don't think we talk about the soul enough as Christians. I call this the bump of me. We all have a soul, and it's a huge problem for the atheist, but not for the Christian. You see, souls are real. If you guys are asking, well, how do you know? I think I can prove it to you. The soul is that thing that you're constantly aware of every waking moment. It's that thing that you introspect to. Like, for example, right now I'm speaking to you. I'm giving this talk. And in my mind, I can picture a purple and orange octopus playing baseball. He's got a black White Sox hat. I don't know why I don't like the White Sox. I'm a Red Sox guy, but that's what he's playing. He's left-handed, and he's batting lefty, and he can hit home runs. Now, I want to ask you guys, think in your minds right now, when you can picture an octopus playing baseball in your mind, raise your hand. Yeah, ridiculous. What color is the octopus? Purple. So good. I love it. What color is the octopus somewhere? Just green? Just solid green. Green what? A little bit of purple. Right, this is incredible. I like our octopuses could be friends. Yeah. What color is your octopus?
Orange.
Orange, like a bright orange or like bright orange? Big eyes?
Big eyes.
Yeah, like huge black circle pupils?
Mine, they were brown.
They were brown. This is unbelievable. Whose octopus is, yeah?
Mine's wearing a Yankees hat.
Ugh.
Sorry about it.
This guy's wearing a Yankees hat, yeah. What color is your octopus?
Oh, blue and green.
Blue and green. Now my question here, guys, is, where is that octopus? Where is that octopus? Because if naturalism is true, this is where the soul is. What we do is we call it consciousness because we don't want the spiritual component, but this is the soul. If naturalism is true and everything that exists is physical, I should be able to cut open your brain and pull out that octopus. So I have a better example. Have you guys ever had a song stuck in your head? Yes. We don't talk about. Right? You guys are so welcome. You're going to be singing that song all night long, right? But what's it mean? It's stuck in your head. Does that mean if I want to get it out of your head, I crack open your skull, split open your brain, and pull out the song? No, because it doesn't manifest itself physically. It manifests itself unphysically. That's your soul. And we all have it. We're all aware of it. They're real. But not only are they real, they're special. And this is another thing that as an atheist, I would have agreed to, but I couldn't ground it. Huge problem for me. I knew human beings were special. But what makes you special? Surely not the amount of hair you have on your head, hopefully. You know? How tall you are, how short you are, how big or small, whether you're male or female, whether you have arms or legs. I'm really good friends with this guy, Nick Vujicic. I don't know if you guys know who he is. Yeah, there's always one person that reacts like that. Yeah, oh my gosh, this guy, no arms and legs. This guy was born with no arms and legs. Is he any more or less valuable than anybody else in this room because he has no arms and legs? Surely not. Why? Because he's human. What makes human beings more special than cockroaches? Consciousness, soul. How about this? We're made in the image of God. Oh, this is incredible. Like, this is incredible stuff here, guys. This stuff here, being made in the image of God, will change your life. It did me. That's where we get our worth from. It's not from any external feature or anything in the external world. It's our soul that makes us special. So souls are real. We all have one. And souls are special. But then there's another part that I knew something more. And this is hard. Not only are our souls real, not only are they special, but they're broken. my conscience, my soul testified to the knowledge that not only is the world out there broken, the bump of bad, not only is the world out there broken, but I'm broken. You see, as an atheist, the final straw in my journey is I realize that I'm not just a victim, I'm a victimizer. I wasn't as slick as I thought when I was telling that girl I loved her in front of her boyfriend. I was a horrible human being in desperate need of a rescue. You know, I realized that naturalism can't explain the beauty and wonder that we see at the night sky and in the world all around us, and has no answer for human brokenness. You know, naturalism has no offer of true forgiveness, but Christian theism, it does. You know, and if I was being honest, and being honest with you right here tonight, in unguarded moments when I was alone all by myself, I would let it slip in my own mind that I needed a rescuer. Because this is a fundamental component of reality that I was bumping into. I had to live in the world as it really was. I had to live in the world that God created. You see, God either exists or he doesn't. It's not up to our personal preference to decide whether God created the world or not. And that means if God created the world, like all of us in this room, I assume, believe he did, it has certain features that don't bend and break according to my desires. And this is part of it. You know, and these bumps into reality changed my life forever. You know, and then right now, I'm like, I'm wrestling so bad, because are you guys aware of all the stuff going on like social media about all the deconversion stuff? Well, not right now, obviously, because you're taking a fast. Thank God. The deconversion stuff that's going on, Rhett and Link, deconversion, there's deconstruction, nothing. Do you know Rhett and Link?
Yeah, we know I know Reverend.
Right, so they came out earlier, maybe late last year, early last year, with their deconversion stories. They were once Christian, now they're not. You've got famous Christian celebrities, you know, and it's interesting because I have the exact opposite experience. But when I witness these things and these people deconverting out of Christianity and they're struggling with Christian theism, and the two questions come into my mind from the background of my story. And first is like, what are you leaving? Because when I hear people say that they're no longer a Christian, I don't hear them describe their former Christian worldview as really Christian. I hear a lot of works. I hear I was a pastor, or I was a youth pastor, or I did this, and I went on missions, and I prayed all the time, and I did, and never do I hear them say, I was broken and in desperate need of a rescue, and I had nowhere to turn. Because every time I turned inside, I realized there was nothing of true forgiveness there. You know, and then my second question is, what are they leaving to? Because now as a Christian, as I stand here as a Christian man, how does atheism or whatever worldview they're leaving to, how does it answer the questions, the fundamental questions of reality? Questions of origins, questions of morality, questions of destiny. Because nature abhors a vacuum. Sometimes what we think is when we move towards neutrality, all of a sudden, like, we get rid of this worldview and we enter into a neutral position, but there is no neutrality when it comes to worldviews. Every worldview is supplanted by another when you abandon it. So how does this newfound worldview, how does what you believe about the world around you answer the questions that we're all asking better than Christian theism? I don't think they do. And this is my experience. This is my story. You see, and this is what I want to stress. So I've got 1 or 2 more minutes, and I'd love to do question and can I do question and answer?
Yeah, we're doing it tomorrow.
But I can do it. I can do it more than once. So
You're our speaker.
okay, cool. Let me just stress this with you guys. I'm here with you guys, and I'm not a Christian. Listen. One, I'm not a Christian because it makes me feel good, and I'm not here to make you guys feel good. I'm not here to blow sunshine at you. I'm not a Christian because it works for me, it's gained me any kind of money. I used to work at some of the nation's best law firms. I used to actually make money. I'm not in it for the money. I'm not in it for the fame. I'm not in it for popularity. I'm a Christian because it's true. Because I met a girl who bumped into a screen door, and then I bumped into reality. And I tested the way the world really is, and I found out that Christian theism is true. That means what Christian theism says about the origins of the universe is true. That means what Christian theism says about a moral depth to the world is true. That means, guys, look at me. That means what Christian theism says about you is true. That means every one of you are made in the image of God. You're special. You're unique. Christian theism says that you are knit together in your mother's womb. It says that he calls you by name. The creator and sustainer of the universe calls you by name. Not only that, the psalmist says that he goes with you everywhere you go. Up to the heights, down to the depths, whether you sit or lie, he is there. Christian theism says that Jesus, he'll never leave you. He'll never forsake you. Not only this, but the Christian theism says that you are now more than conquerors. You've gone from children of wrath to children of God. Christian theism says that you will reign in glory forever alongside King Jesus. This is who you are. Do you realize this? This is who you are. You are sons and daughters of the living King. And there's nothing that you can do to separate yourself from the love of God that is in Christ Jesus our Lord. Nothing. This is your identity. And the reason why I'm telling you this right now is because the world that's out there, the world down that hill, is going to tell you differently. The world down that hill is going to want you to judge yourself by how many likes a post gets, or how your Insta's doing, or what you're doing on TikTok, or what kind of car you drive, or what college you get into, or what kind of wife or husband you get, how much money you make, what political office you aspire to. And it's all rubbish, is what Paul says. The only thing that matters is the thing that you're here for 9 months, to foster that unbreakable relationship that you have with your Creator and Sustainer God. That's it. I'm not saying this just to make you feel good. This is the true story of reality. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. So I would love to take, question and answer. And anything's on the table, by the way. Almost anything.
What are your thoughts and feelings when you kind of look back at how you used to convince Christians out of Christianity? How do you feel when you think about that?
Yes. So the question was, how do I feel when I kind of look back at my previous atheist life and I think about the Christians that I would I would berate these people. Two things. One, sure, shame on me. But also, two, shame on them. They had zero answers for me. They knew what they believed oftentimes, but they never knew why they believed it. So their convictions were this deep. Convictions were this deep. And not only that, but so 2 Corinthians 5:20 says that we are ambassadors for Christ and we're to be begging on behalf of Christ to be reconciled to God. If the true story of reality that I just shared with you is actually true, it's up to us to spread that, to share that. I'm not saying we save anybody. We can't, you and me, we can't resurrect anything. God can. And we have to share that. And that's another part of another component. Not once did a Christian share the gospel with me. Not once. And I know I was hard. You guys, we've only spent, 35 minutes together, and you can probably tell I'm pretty, in your face. I was the same way as an atheist, passionate, so I was intimidated. I'm a big dude, I know I'm intimidating, so I know it's hard. But surely somebody could have been like, you want to know something, man? God so loved the world that he gave his only one and only son, that whoever should believe in him will not perish but inherit eternal life. Like just something like that. Something, but it never happened. More foundationally, most of the Christians I talked to couldn't actually give me answers to the questions I had. Good question. Yeah. No, yeah, hi.
So we're going to be evangelizing soon. And I know you can't argue per se like someone in heaven.
Yeah.
How do you go about like starting that conversation and like bringing up the gospel and talking with someone who has like all these questions without like arguing?
Yeah. Great point. A great question. So how do you talk to people out kind of on the street when you're evangelizing or whatever in a way that's kind of received and not overbearing? One is my goal is never the salvation of that person. Like I just said, that's not up to me. That's between them and God. God will save them. I trust God to do his work, his part, and I have to do my part. And that is just do the best that I can and have these conversations with people out there. You know, I live like this, like just open. So I'm willing to talk to you about whatever. I'm just honest with people. So when I don't know the answer to something, how do you think I respond?
I don't know the answer.
That's a great question. I have no idea. What do you think? What do you think? When I evangelize, oftentimes I use questions, not statements. So I'll start up a conversation with somebody about a moral depth to the nature of the world. I'll usually find common ground. I'll be like, yeah, dude, that guy Donald Trump, he is such a buffoon. Oh, he's so immoral. What's that mean, immoral? You know what I mean? Like, you see what I just did? I mean, it's just like, it really is that simple, though. And then the ball's in their court, and they have to answer, I think he's just done awful things. Like, do you think he's done awful things, like, objectively, like, awful to all people in all places at all times, or just kind of like, I think that's kind of bad? No, they're awful things. Oh, where's that sense of awful come from? Because in order to get that objective standard, you need a standard giver. You see, C.S. Lewis said, and I'll say something like this. I'll say C.S. Lewis said something to the effect that you can only judge a crooked line by a straight line to judge it by, right? You need a straight line in order to see it's crooked. Otherwise, you don't know. So you need a standard. So I'll do something like that, or just be relaxed, be myself, don't feel any pressure. Yeah. Does that help? I have like a whole talk on this. If you guys want to read a really good book, I know you guys don't have anything to read these 9 months.
Yeah, we haven't
Like,
to read this.
forget the Old Testament survey and just do this book. No, do Old Testament. Yeah, absolutely. No, Greg Kokel, my boss and mentor, wrote a book called Tactics. And in it, it's brilliant, guys. He explains like how to engage in spiritual conversations in a way that's winsome and effective, that you don't feel any pressure. And it's through asking questions and just being real with the people that you're talking to and not trying to force anything onto them, but not shying away either. You got to remember, guys, we have reality on our side. The world is a certain way. God did make the world. That's the true story. We have it on our side, and not only that, but we have better explanations for the way the world really is. But we do have to study. We do have to know what those explanations are. I hope that helps a little bit.
Tactics.
Koukl, Koukl, and it's Tactics is the book. It's fantastic. You will not regret it. Yeah, way in the back.
I have a question for Wayne, like from way before when you weren't a believer. I've heard a lot of people saying that a great way to like share your faith is through your actions. How effective did you find that with Christians?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm just going to be truthful with you. Like, it comes from that saying, who's it? It's an ancient saint they attribute to, like Gregory of Nicaea or something like that share the gospel and if necessary, use words. And it's just like, the gospel, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, this is just who I am. The gospel is verbal communication. I'll tell you what, we will never out-nice a Mormon. Ever out-nice a Mormon. That doesn't make their worldview true. I live next to a Mormon. Mormons make the best neighbors. They really do. So I was set to go on a trip. I was going to go teach at Sprott Camp. So I was set to go on a trip to Germany, and I had built into it. I was going to Poland to go to Auschwitz. I was going to the Czech Republic to go to Prague. I was going to be gone like 20 days. And like the last box on my list to check off before I left was mow the lawn. My lawn was like this high, and I was like, I have to get this done before I leave for like a month. And I was literally stressing about it. And I came home from work the day before I was supposed to leave, and my Mormon neighbor was mowing my lawn. And he did it better than I've ever done it. And then they just had a baby. Like 2 days before, he had just had their fourth kid. And like he's out there mowing my lawn, like, ah! And then I got home from Germany. The best part is I got home from Germany. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna mow this guy's lawn. And I set my lawnmower too low, and I totally burnt his whole lawn. His lawn was never the same. And then they moved. But like so my point is yes, we live in a way. So Jesus says that they will know you are my disciples by how you love one another. They will know you are my disciples by how you love one another. The way we say it at my little teeny tiny church I pastor at in Camarillo is the church should be a preview. It should be a theater of the future. Meaning the outlooking world should be looking in at the church and saying, I want that. 2 Peter 3:15, right? This is the famous apologetics verse, right? Always be prepared to give a defense for the hope that we have. Well, if you look at the context of that verse, the context is that person is coming asking this question because they see something radically different about the Church of Jesus Christ. So actions are important, but that's not what saves. Good behavior doesn't save us. Thank God, because on my best day, I'm not good enough. So you need to if you don't eventually get to the gospel, you're walking slowly with someone to hell. I don't know how else to say it to you guys, but that's my conviction. But at the same time, I'm not always. I have a story. You want to hear a story?
Sure.
Yes.
So I was boarding this plane. I am like all about sharing the gospel with strangers. Like on plane rides are the best because like you're stuck with the person next to you. So normally I'm like that guy. Like I'm looking over, I'm like, what's he reading? Oh my gosh, he's reading An Atheist. I've read that book. Oh, it's such rubbish. I'm going to talk to him about it. How you like the book? This time I was coming home from a conference in Providence, Rhode Island. I was mentally prepared for a 6-hour flight from Providence to LA, and I was exhausted. I was absolutely exhausted. And all I wanted to do was put my earbuds in, read my Bible, this Bible, on the plane, and just kind of like go into my own mind, my soul. And I'm sitting there, and it was looking like it was going to be glorious because I was in the window seat. No, I was on the aisle, and the 2 seats next to me weren't full. And you guys ever have this experience where in a plane, you're like holding your breath, like, oh, I don't want to get my hopes up, but it's going to be empty row. It's going to be empty row. I can put the armrest up. I can spread out. So I'm like, this is amazing. The ding goes off, and they're saying, we're about to close the doors or whatever. And then I'm like, yes, this is great. And all of a sudden, in the door comes a guy running, out of breath, sweating, disheveled. I'm like, no, please. No, please. Sure enough, he's sitting in not right next to me, but the window seat. And I'm like, whatever, fine. I still have a seat, and I have my Bible like this, and I don't even hear the announcements or anything. And he looks over, he's like, hey, are you religious? I'm like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I'm religious. Yeah, leave me alone. He's like, are you Christian? I said, oh, yes. Can you tell me about that? Oh, yes, I'll tell you about it. Dang it. And no lie, we're talking for like 4 hours on the plane, and I'm not even joking to you. At the end of our conversation, he says, how do I become a Christian? It stemmed from me with a hard heart going into the entire thing, and this is all God moving, right? But you have to make yourself available is my point. And you have to be willing and able to talk about these things in a way that people want to hear about, you know? So anyways, that's just my kind of, good question. That's my long answer. Yeah.
So I am pretty familiar with the arguments for like theism, you asked to create the world, Big Bang, Big Banger.
Yeah.
How do you get from theism to like Christianity, like Jesus?
Absolutely. Resurrection. You know, the resurrection of Jesus is attested to. Maybe we'll go over some of this week. There are 18, there's more than 18, but there's 18 pieces of evidence that are agreed by scholars across the world. Do you guys know what I mean when I say worldview? Yeah. Kind of. Everybody has a world. A worldview is how you view every facet of reality. We all have a worldview. Our worldviews seek to explain the world around us. And we want to adopt and we want to believe what's true, so we want to adopt a worldview that's true. So when I say worldview, that's what I mean. It's a comprehensive view of the world. They say worldviews are like belly buttons. Everyone has one, right? Nobody's exempt from a worldview. It's making our worldview align with the way the world really is. So anyways, regardless of worldview, these scholars agree that these 18 pieces of evidence about the life of Jesus, the life, death, and resurrection of Jesus are true. So our job is to, and their job, scholars' job is to look at the evidence and then come to a conclusion, a hypothesis to explain the evidence in light of itself. So for example, this is newly kind of conceded in the last 15 years, empty tomb. Every scholar believes that Jesus was, the person Jesus, a man from Nazareth, was placed in a tomb, and then 3 days later, that tomb was empty. Okay, every scholar that's worth his weight that's writing today believes that Jesus led a ministry and led people, right? Every scholar believes that Jesus, that's worth their weight, that's writing today, believes that Jesus died on the cross. Every scholar believes, this is just like maybe 4 or 5 pieces, every scholar believes that Jesus' followers had a radical shift and change almost immediately after his death, and what they experienced was a risen Jesus. So just taking these pieces of evidence, we have to seek to explain them and try doing it from a naturalistic perspective. You see, this is my story and just total anecdotal, but one of my major points, I was studying the resurrection as an atheist, and I remember sitting on that IKEA couch that we used to have, that really uncomfortable one. I loved sitting on this IKEA couch because like it was impossible to fall asleep in. So I'd read on that chair because it was just like hurt you know? And so I'd sit there and read. And I remember thinking to myself, you know what? Maybe aliens came down and took Jesus and healed them all up and then put him back. And I'm thinking to myself, how much evidence do we have for aliens? And I'm willing to say aliens over God. So then I had to examine, well, maybe I have a presupposition here that needs to be dropped. So I go to, the long answer to your question, when I'm talking, how do I go from theism to Christian theism? Resurrection of Jesus, for sure. I think it's lights out, you know. Cold case Christianity. Do you guys know J. Warner Wallace? He's amazing. He's coldcasechristianity.com. And he's a former cold case homicide detective. This guy was on like Dateline, you know, those like 30-year-old murders, and he's solving them. He actually, every case he brought to court throughout his 35-year career, he got a conviction. Cold case, 30-year-old murders, unbelievable. He was an atheist. He applied his cold case homicide detective skills to the resurrection of Jesus, and that's what convinced him that Christian theism was true. It's crazy, yeah. He wrote, that's Lee Strobel. Yeah, he's no slouch either, though. He's former atheist, same type of deal. He was a legal journalist and applied his legal techniques, his legal journalism skills to the resurrection, and found out that it was true, you know. But yeah, so that's where I'd go. Yeah, does that satisfy you? Cool, awesome. Yeah.
You said you were a lawyer. What exactly do you do? I know you do like apologetics, but you just go around and talk to people like us?
Yeah, well, you guys are so special. Nobody's like you. No, I used to be a paralegal, so not a lawyer. But yeah, so I was a paralegal. I came to know the Christian worldview as true, and so what I did is once I learned like this thing, Christian apologetics existed. I was like, oh, this is really cool. I remember I Googled it, apologetics. Oh wait, maybe I can study this. I found out Biola. I never heard of Biola. You know, I was like, Bible Institute of Los Angeles. Wait, I live in the Valley. Maybe I can, oh my gosh, it's only like an hour away. And then I ended up going there for my master's in Christian apologetics. And when I graduated from there, my local church, where Jen and I know each other from, offered me a job. And then I took a job as a pastor. And then through just a series of events, 3.5 years ago now, left that job. I planted a church and went to Stand to Reason. So now my job is this, yeah. I have the best job in the world. I literally have my dream job. It's amazing. Yeah, I travel around and speak to people about the glorious things of Jesus Christ. It's so cool. It's really cool. It is. Yeah, and I know Jim Wallace really well. I'll be with him next weekend in Seattle. All these guys, it's crazy. And I'm just me. Like I tell myself, I'm just happy to be here, you know? Any more? What time can I go till?
I mean, we will have a Q&A time tomorrow. So there will be lots more.
Jen says I can't talk to you anymore. So, yeah, one more. Can I do one more? All right, one more.
All right. Does pineapple have a place on pizza?
Well, your friends love you, man. Absolutely.
This caused heated debate.
You can put anything on pizza, in my opinion. Broccoli, chicken, pineapple. Or is this a real question?
Yes.
Is it a real question about God or the things of God?
End it. Have a great life.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
No. Especially for
Do you have a real question?
I was just going to ask what your church is called.
My church, this is a good one to end on. My church is, it's called Soli Deo Gloria Church. It's Soli Church for short. It's Soli, which is only in Greek, only church. So we have a very simple philosophy of ministry where we do Sunday mornings, and that's it. So we try to do the best that we possibly can on Sunday mornings through the word read, word preached, the table, and we try to help people enter the rest that's offered through their triune God, and not give them a bunch of stuff to do, because you guys, as you guys know here, you guys have enough to do. But guys, let me end with this tonight. I am so serious. Like, you have no idea how fortunate you guys are. And these aren't just words. Like, if you guys take what you're embarking on over the next few months seriously, it will change your life forever. It will change your kids' life forever. It will change your grandkids' lives forever. It's crazy to think about, because I know what you guys are 19. You're like, kids, ugh. But it comes fast. And you guys will never, ever have this opportunity again. So I'm looking forward to digging in with you guys this week. And anything you guys need, questions you have, please feel free to ask. That's why I'm here. I'm here for you. Can I pray for you guys?
Yeah.
And then we'll get out of here. Holy Father in heaven, we are so grateful that we get to, oh my gosh, Lord, we get to sit here in your creation and bask in its glory. It's shouting to us, you are here. Thank you for the setting that you've placed us in. Thank you for this amazing building that we get to come together. And thank you so much for all this that you've created, but especially thank you for these people, my brothers and sisters, not brought together by our own blood, but by the blood of your Son, not our own DNA, but the DNA of Christ. We are joined together forever as brothers and sisters, Lord. We thank you for our salvation offered through Jesus Christ. And that's what we're most thankful for this evening as we sit here, that you would give your Son, that we could do this, just talk to you. You've bridged that gap. You've fixed the relationship. And we're so grateful for that, Lord. As we set out on this week, Lord, would you go before us? Would you make our ears open to listening, our minds open to investigating, and would you help me communicate your truths as best as I can, Lord? But more than that, and more than any of that, Lord, would you just help us look every day just a little bit more like Jesus, so that when we lay our head down tonight, we look just a little bit more like Jesus, just in incremental ways. And that process, God, will be about your business, will be focused on your goals, and will be willing to live a life that's worthy of your calling that you have on it, Lord. So, as always, God, would you just help us love you more and each other better? In Christ's name, amen. Thank you very much, guys. I look forward to this week.